Idiocracy. Idiocracy is a 2006 American sci-fi comedy film directed by Mike Judge and co-written by Judge and Ethan Cohen, starring Luke Wilson, Maya Rudolph, Dax Shepard, and Terry Crews. The film follows U.S. Army librarian Joe, who wakes up in the year 2505 after a botched government hibernation experiment to find himself in a dystopian society run by corporations, where evolution has made humanity stupid because people no longer had to be intelligent and physically fit to survive due to the benefits of technology. Realizing he is by far the smartest person on the planet, the U.S. president gives him 1 week to solve the country's food shortage and crippled economy. Film by Mike Judge, and it to be confused with Idiocracy. Idiocracy serves as a social satire that touches on issues including anti-intellectualism, capitalism, commercialism, consumerism, corporatocracy, dysgenics, and overpopulation. The film was not screened for critics, and its distributor 20th Century Fox was accused of abandoning it, despite the lack of a major theatrical release, resulting in the film making just $495,303 at the box office. It received positive reviews from critics and has since become a cult film, earning over $9.90 million in DVD rentals alone. Plot. In 2005, U.S. Army librarian Joe Bowers is selected for a government hibernation experiment due to being the most average individual in the entire military. Lacking a suitable female candidate, the military hires sex worker Rita by paying off her pimp Upgrade. When the officer in charge is arrested for running his own prostitution ring under Upgrade's tutelage, the experiment is forgotten about. Over the next 500 years, societal expectations and technological advances lead the most intelligent humans to go childless, while the least intelligent reproduce indiscriminately and create increasingly dumber generations. In 2505, Joe and Rita's hibernation chambers are unearthed by the collapse of a mountain-sized garbage pile, with Joe crashing into the apartment of Frito Pendejo. He wanders around what was once Washington, D.C. and finds a population that has become profoundly anti-intellectual, speaking only low registers of English and wallowing in overconsumption and lowbrow pop culture. Technology is still advanced but often malfunctioning, driven by garish commercialism or extreme simplicity, such as healthcare workers handling computer equipment akin to children's education software. Believing that he is hallucinating after a year of hibernation, Joe enters a hospital and realizes the truth. Arrested for not having a barcode tattoo to pay for his doctor's appointment, he is sent to prison after the grossly incompetent Frito acts as his lawyer. Rita also leaves her chamber and resumes her job as a sex worker, but soon realizes that people have become so stupid that customers will give her money just for promising that she will eventually sleep with them. Joe is renamed Not Sure by a faulty speech recognition tattooing machine and takes a rudimentary IQ test. The police place him in a line of prisoners walking into jail, but he tricks a guard into letting him go by simply stating that he is there by accident. He finds Frito, who reveals that a time machine exists on the other side of the city that can travel back to 2005. Frito agrees to guide Joe and Rita to the time machine after Joe promises to make him rich via compound interest on a bank account he will open in Frito's name when he arrives in the past. The three venture through a gigantic Costco store, where Joe is identified by a tattoo scanner and arrested. Joe is taken to the White House and is appointed Secretary of the Interior because the IQ test identified him as the most intelligent person alive. President Camacho introduces Joe to the cabinet and gives him the impossible job of fixing the nationwide food shortages, constant dust bowls, and crippled economy. Within 1 week, Joe discovers that the nation's crops are being watered with Brondo, a sports drink produced by a company that also owns the FDA, FCC, and USDA. When he arranges for the irrigation system to be replaced with water, Brondo's stock plummets, causing massive layoffs and riots without any visible improvement to the crops. Joe is sentenced to die in a monster truck demolition derby featuring undefeated rehabilitation officer Beef Supreme. However, Beef's grossly oversized truck is crushed when it rams into the building's support pillars while trying to enter the arena, and Joe manages to defeat the other competitors. Rita and Frito discover that Joe's reintroduction of water to the soil has allowed crops to grow, and they steal a TV camera from the arena to broadcast the sprouting crops on the stadium's jumbotron, prompting Camacho to grant Joe a presidential pardon. Joe and Rita decide to stay in the future, although later they discover that they had no choice as the time machine turns out to be a childishly inaccurate history-themed amusement ride. Following Camacho's term, Joe is elected president and marries Rita, with whom he has the world's 3 smartest children. New Vice President Frito marries 8 women and fathers 32 of the world's stupidest children. Cast: Luke Wilson as Corporal Joe Bowers, Mayor Rudolph as Rika, Dax Shepard as Frito Pendajo, Terry Crews as President, Dwayne Elizondo, Mountain Dew, Herbert Camacho, David Herman as Secretary of State, Justin Long as Dr. Lexus, Indra Wilson as Beef Supremabert, Scarface Jordan as Upgrade, as Stephen Root as Judge of him, as Hayden Church as Brando Sozaru as Attorney General, uncredited. Themes: the idea of a dystopian society based on dysgenics can be traced back to the work of Sir Francis Galton. H.G. Wells' The Time Machine postulates a devolved society of humans akin to the epsilon-minus semi-morons of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, as does the short story The Marching Morons by Cyril M. Kornbluth. Production: early working titles included The United States of America and 3001. Filming took place in 2004 on several stages at Austin Studios and in the Texas cities of Austin, San Marcos, Pflugerville, and Round Rock. Test screenings around March 2005 produced unofficial reports of poor audience reactions. After some reshooting in the summer of 2005, a UK test screening in August produced a report of a positive impression. Release: Idiocracy's original release date was August 5, 2005, according to Mike Judge. In April 2006, a release date was set for September 1, 2006. In August, numerous articles revealed that release was to be put on hold indefinitely. Idiocracy was released as scheduled, but only in 7 cities: Los Angeles, Atlanta, Toronto, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, and Mike Judge's hometown, Austin, Texas, and expanded to only 130 theaters, not the usual wide release of 600 or more theaters, according to the Austin American-Statesman. 20th Century Fox, the film's distributor, was entirely absent in promoting the feature. While posters were released to theaters, no movie trailers, no ads, and only 2 stills, and no press kits were released. The film was not screened for critics. Lack of concrete information from Fox led to speculation that the distributor may have actively tried to keep the film from being seen by a large audience, while fulfilling a contractual obligation for theatrical release ahead of a DVD release. According to Ryan Pearson of the AP, that speculation was followed by open criticism of the studio's lack of support from Ain't It Cool News, Time, and Esquire. Time's Joel Stein wrote, "The film's ads and trailers tested atrociously, but still, abandoning Idiocracy seems particularly unjust, since Judge has made a lot of money for Fox and the New York Times." Dan Mitchell argued that Fox might be shying away from the cautionary tale about low-intelligence dysgenics because the company did not want to offend either its viewers or potential advertisers portrayed negatively in the film. This theory has been given extra weight by Terry Crews, who stars in the movie as President Camacho. In a 2018 interview with GQ magazine, he talked of advertisers being unhappy at the way they were portrayed, which affected the studio's efforts to promote the movie. He said, "The rumor was, because we used real corporations in our comedy. I mean, Starbucks was giving hand jobs. These companies gave us their name thinking they were gonna get pumped up, and then we're like, welcome to Costco, we love you." All these real corporations were like, wait a minute, there were a lot of people trying to back out, but it was too late. And so Fox, who owned the movie, decided, we're going to release this in as few theaters as legally possible. So it got a release in, probably, 3 theaters over one weekend, and it was sucked out into the vortex in 2017. Judge told the New York Times that the film's lack of marketing and wide release was the result of negative test screenings. He added that Fox subsequently decided to not give the film a strong marketing push because the distributor believed it would develop a cult following through word of mouth and recoup its budget through home video sales. As Judge's previous film Office Space had box office receipts totaled $444,093 in the U.S., with the widest release being 135 theaters. Reception. Although it was not screened in advance for critics, Idiocracy received positive reviews. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a score of I%, with an average rating of based on 52 reviews. The website's critics' consensus for the film reads, "Frustratingly uneven yet enjoyable overall, Idiocracy skewers society's devolution with an amiably goofy yet deceptively barbed wit." On Metacritic, the film has a score of 66 out of 100 based on reviews from 12 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Los Angeles Times reviewer Karina Chokino described it as spot-on satire and a pitch-black, bleakly hilarious vision of an American future, although the plot, naturally, is silly and not exactly bound by logic, but it's Judge's gimlet-eyed knack for nightmarish extrapolation that makes Idiocracy a cathartic delight. In an Entertainment Weekly review only 87 words long, Joshua Rich gave the film an EW grade of D, stating that Mike Judge implores us to reflect on a future in which Britney and K-Fed are like the new Adam and Eve. The AV Club's Nathan Rabin found Luke Wilson perfectly cast as a quintessential everyman, and wrote of the film like so much superior science fiction. Idiocracy uses a fantastical future to comment on a present. There's a good chance that Judge's smartly loudrow Idiocracy will be mistaken for what its satirizing film was also well received in other countries. John Patterson, critic for The Guardian, wrote, "Idiocracy isn't a masterpiece. Fox seems to have stiffed Judge on money at every stage of it. It's endlessly funny," and of the film's popularity, described seeing the film in a half-empty house. 2 days later, same place, same shout, act out. Brazilian news magazine Veja called the film politically incorrect, recommending that readers see the DVD, and wrote the film went flying through theaters and did not open in Brazil. Proof that the future contemplated by Judge is not that far away. Critic Alexander Cobal of the Brazilian website Cineplayers.com gave the movie a score of 5 out of 5. Another staff reviewer wrote, "Idiocracy is not exactly funny nor innovative, but it's a movie to make you think, even if for 5 minutes, and for that it manages to stay one level above the terrible average of comedy movies released in the last years in the United States." Home Media. Idiocracy was released on DVD on January 9, 2007. It has earned $9 million on DVD rentals, over 20 times its gross domestic box office revenue of under $450,000. In the UK, uncut versions of the film were shown on satellite channel Sky Comedy on February 26, 2009, with the Freeview premiere shown on film on April 26, 2009. Spin-offs. In August 2012, Cruise said he was in talks with director Judge and Fox over a possible Idiocracy spin-off featuring his President Camacho character, initially conceived as a web series, a week before the 2012 elections. He reprised the character in a series of short sketches for Funny or Die. Before the 2016 presidential election, Rolling Stone published an article stating that Judge and Cohen would produce Idiocracy-themed campaign ads opposing Donald Trump's presidential campaign if given permission from Fox to do so. Cruise later told Business Insider that the ads would not go forward as planned, but that they would have featured Camacho wrestling in a cage match against the other candidates. Legacy. A placard during the 2017 Women's March describing Idiocracy as a documentary during the 2016 Republican Party presidential primaries. The film's co-writer Ita Cohen and others expressed opinions that the film's predictions were converging on accuracy, a sentiment repeated by director Judge during the elections that year. At the time, Judge also compared Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump, who was later elected president of the film's pro wrestler turned president Camacho. When asked about predicting the future, he quipped, "I'm no prophet. I was off by 490 years." Comparisons have been made between the film and Trump's presidency. An article for Collider pointed out the ways in which Trump's positions echoed the political decisions of the characters in the film in areas such as science, business, entertainment, environment, healthcare, law enforcement, and politics. Internet memes have spawned comparisons to Trump and characters in the film. Writer Adam Johnson warned against using the film as a simplistic shorthand for the Trump administration and accused the film of supporting eugenics, writing, "While the movie is savvy enough to avoid overt racism, it dives headfirst into gross classism." The article was not well received, and Twitter users questioned his intentions due to numerous tweets in which he stated "Idiocracy sucks and you suck for liking it," used the film to attack liberals despite writing his original article for the liberal websites Alternate and Salon, and insulted anyone who disagreed with him.